Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Charity Charge Show. Today, we are joined by Courtney Johnson. She is the CEO and founder of Culinary Care, and their core mission is to make sure that people that are in the hospitals getting kind of cancer treatment are receiving nourishing, delicious food that is delivered free of charge. Courtney, welcome to the show, and yeah, tell me a little more about your work and background.
Thanks so much for having me. I guess my background is not in nonprofits. It is not in the culinary space. I'm not a chef. It is really just personal experience. I lost my father to lung cancer when I was in heading into my senior year of high school, so in 2006. And from the time he was diagnosed until he passed was about 7 months. So it was
Mm,
very fast, and our whole world was just kind of turned upside down. And we had friends and neighbors that brought us meals every single day. It was not only one less thing that we had to worry about, it just gave us something to look forward to every day. And my dad was a huge foodie. I think every single memory that I have with him was centered around a meal in some way. And so for us, it was really just this sense of normalcy and being able to have and savor those moments with my dad before he passed. And so for me, looking back on that experience, if there was like any sort of positive takeaways, it was really just centered around those meals. And so when I graduated college 4 years later, I was really looking for ways to volunteer, and my mind just kept going back to like, how can I bring that same sense of support and excitement and just more good days to somebody else that's going through this? And there was nowhere that I could volunteer. And so that kind of got the question going as well, what are families doing? What are patients doing? Maybe everybody has the same level of support that my family had, and so I feel like the first couple of years was really just answering that question, like,
mhm.
is this even a needed program? The answer was very quickly yes. Our first meal delivery ever, I reached out to the woman who we delivered to. Her name was Lee, and I asked her, how was your meal? Thinking she would just be like, oh, it was yummy. Thanks so much. She ended up writing a 4-page letter. And in it, she just outlined how lonely she was. She had just moved to Chicago. She didn't have any friends or family. She was diagnosed with breast cancer and just felt totally isolated. And because food she felt like was meant to be a communal thing, she
Yeah.
wasn't eating properly. It just made her more isolated. And she was like, the idea of having this meal not only made me just start salivating, it was just feeling the love. And that is
Mm.
really what Culinary Care's mission is all about. It is actually the two sides of our names coming together. It's culinary and it's care. And at the very end of her letter, she said, our goodness, grace, and kindness restored her faith in humanity. And so that was just very quickly like, yep, we're onto something here and we need to keep going. And, if we can change one life in this way through one meal, imagine what we can do with more meals per person, with more people. And that's really what we've set out to do ever since.
That is absolutely amazing, and, how cool is it that you were almost, the first user of, your nonprofit, and,
Yeah.
you saw the need, in your own life and kinda took that and, you got to kinda see that need and go out and kind of do that research. How tell me more about how those kind of first years, it was right out of college, right, that you kind of got into it. So, yeah, tell me about how it was going into the community, making those relationships with the hospitals, I'm sure it was a big part of it.
Yeah, we're based out of is Chicago. We just expanded to Dallas
Okay,
in
awesome.
2024. And so we've been growing in both cities. But I mean, in the very early days, so I had graduated college in 2011. I came back to Chicago and was really just trying to get a job, frankly. Alongside that, I was like, I don't know if like my job and my work is going to be my purpose. And I feel like a lot of people do look for their purpose in like their employers or in their friends and their family. I just felt like this is a personal purpose is personal. And so it was just something where like I need to find what's going to help me heal and grieve and figure out a way, at some point, very early on, I could still call my dad's phone and get his voicemail and hear his voice. And then that starts, at some point I think they just cut off his phone. And so I wasn't able to do that anymore. And, I did have this sort of oddly nice, like, four-year escape. I had college, I had a
Mm,
whole new setting, a whole new environment, just a really great distraction from what I had gone through, and then coming back to Chicago, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I've properly dealt with this," and we had seen a family therapist just right after everything happened, and for some like, the only takeaway that I remember from that session was that a lot of people grieve by getting involved and giving back, and she's like, "I have
mm,
seen it be the most healing thing." So that was just for me what I was looking to explore post college. I've always volunteered. I've always really sort of, you know, I like being the person. I feel like a lot of my identity is in being the helper and being the caregiver, and a little bit of a people pleaser, which I've had to navigate against as a founder. You can't please everybody, and so. But that was really how it started. Was I was just thinking through like, what can I do? What's going to give me a sense of purpose? I looked at a lot of different cancer organizations, honestly, and for me, it just like nothing was just really driving me home. I didn't feel like I could contribute. I know a cure is so important, and I would love for my dad to have had access to one, but he didn't. And so for me, it was just like, I want to have this immediate impact. I want to know that I made someone's life different and better, like today, right now. I'm a little bit
mhm,
impatient. And so for me, that was really what was hitting home. And then these meals, like everything I love food. And that passion was shared from my dad. I was a waitress through college, and I feel like that was just one of my favorite jobs. And so I just loved the hospitality space. So all these pieces kind of came together. I was working full time. So this did not become my full time job for about 2.5 years. So really, it was just how do we build something and start making a difference right now that I can just do in my free time. So it was a lot of like after work. And then it was also during my lunch breaks. And if I wasn't free during those hours, I had family and friends that were stepping in and delivering meals. But it was very grassroots. It was really just how are we going to get these meals from point A to point B? Where are we going to find these families that might need our support? Um, and so that really came through other cancer organizations. Like we had flyers in Gilda's Club, which is actually where we found Lee. And so it was really just a matter of figuring out how we were going to reach people. And then once they contacted us, we did rally restaurants to donate meals. And I think
mhm,
for them, I mean, their hospitality, it's like in their blood. And so
yeah,
being able to help, an organization, not just with like a gift card, not with an auction item. This was like literally your business and what you do every single day can change someone's life and connect them. Like we are bringing your hospitality into these cancer centers. In the very, very early years, we were going everywhere and anywhere we were needed. So we were driving to people's homes, we were going to, their community centers, like wherever we could help. And that very quickly just got too big
in terms of
for,
logistics,
yeah,
yeah,
logistics. It was, I think the real turning point for us was a family and their son was in treatment. So their mom was going, she quit her day job, she was working nights, husband was, during the day, and they sort of split their time. And so she was in treatment with her son, and they lived 3 hours outside the city. And once we heard their story, we were just like, well, we're obviously going to deliver you a meal. So we went and we did it. But after that trek, we were just like we called her and I'm like, it's not gonna be feasible for us to be able to get to your home, on a regular cadence, and she was like, "Can you come to my treatment center?" She was like, "I'm here with my son all day, and nobody gives us a meal. Like, there is no food, and the
mm,
expectation is that you are coming as an outpatient, so you're not in the overnight stay of the hospital." And that was really like a huge educational and pivotal moment for us was just learning one, that the hospitals are not providing meals during outpatient care. So the expectation is you're coming from home, you've like meal prepped or something like that along the way, and you're bringing something with you, or that you can go out and get something from the cafeteria or maybe one of the restaurants if they have any on site. And the issue with that is like for her, she's not leaving her son's side. Like
of
this
course not,
is
yeah,
yeah, like that's not reality. So she's not gonna go out and look for food. Meal prepping, I think, is hard enough for any of us to do just to even go to the office. So like the
yeah, on a
anxiety of
regular
getting
basis
yeah,
without with the normalcy of life, meal prep is,
exactly.
ideal for me at
So
least.
it's hard. It's like, let's just be real here. Like that's not something that we just do regularly as people, let alone people who are having the anxiety of a day at the hospital. They're not waking up thinking like, "Oh, let me make sure I make my lunch today." It's just like, "Oh my gosh, let me get to the hospital and get out." So that was a really big turning point for us, and we basically said, "You know what? Not only can we deliver you a meal there, but anyone that's with you and your son, like if you have caregivers with you, or like tell any other patients that we're going to bring food, because now that 3 hours turns to 1 hour. And in that 1 hour, we have these home bases that we can deliver meals to. And more patients started requesting that. And so that's really where we ended up going on the hospital side, was just saying, like, wow, this is so needed. So many people are turning to us and asking us, can you bring meals to my treatment? I'm hungry. I'm here all day. And we just found that that sort of sweet spot was just like, wow, this is super needed. It also happens to be, as we've learned, that day, most of our patients feel their best to actually enjoy a meal. And so a lot of the time, it's like the heartiest, biggest, sort of most exciting meal. And then chemo kicks in and it sort of kicks their butt for the next 2 weeks, as they describe it. And then they're at chemo again and they feel like just well enough to eat a meal before chemo kicks, the side effects,
Got you.
sort of,
Yeah,
kick in and make them feel sick, and it's just like they're exhausted, like the
100%.
chemo is just is not a fun time after you get chemo for the next like 2 weeks, and then you're back at chemo. And so it really just sort of being started being this really transformational way that we could meaningfully reach patients with the resources that we had at the time. And alongside those meal deliveries was the care, and is the care. So we're not just a delivery service. We're not just popping in and like dropping it off and leaving. We are calling, we're texting, we are making sure that we actually get your meal to you. And that was actually what I was just working with our programs team on, right before this, is just we're delivering an average of like 80 meals a day in Chicago. And so the logistics behind that are things that you don't often think about, where it's, what happens when your doctor's running late, which happens to a lot of us all the time, but the patient ordered a meal. And so they're not where we normally deliver. So if you're ordering Grubhub or DoorDash, they're just going to go like, okay, you weren't here by, like, we don't know where to go. Our team knows what to do on site, and we know how to find and reach our patients and make sure that we actually get them their meal. And we have like a whole system with the nursing teams, which are incredible at every location we work at. The nurses are just so amazing and just truly, truly do everything they can to make sure that patients are taken care of and just are healing in the best way possible. So that's a lot of those were the very early days. It was very, I mean, it still is very grassroots. I mean, we were just running like a boots on the ground delivery logistics service, but alongside that is all of like the love and care that
Mhm.
the community is sharing with us. Every donor truly is extending a hand to our patients, whether it's not like actually your hand in the treatment room. Our patients can feel it. It's the number one comment that we get is like, the meals are always great. We work with top rated restaurants to make sure that they're always great. But that's been one of the most surprising things about our program, is how much it means to
For
know that
someone
a
to actually be the one
stranger,
showing up. Yeah.
yeah, like complete stranger is giving $30 a month to make sure that you don't have to worry about a meal during treatment. And that's felt like that kind of love. It's commitment, and commitment is love. And so it's truly felt in every single meal.
That is amazing, and I can imagine there's so many synergies that come from it. Like, the first thing that comes to mind, as you talk about having the meal right as the treatment is about to get started, I can't imagine on top of the mental health benefits, the physical benefits as well in terms of the nourishment. And have y'all found that people that are within your program, getting the meals, are they seeing higher rates of success as well within their
Yeah.
treatment? And, I can't imagine if there's, some positive outcomes on that side of it as well.
Yeah, I would love to be able to track that from like a full cycle. And I think that will come very soon, and getting someone that has, sort of those research capabilities to fully track like the actual true outcomes of patients, compared like a comparison. The hardest part with doing that type of research is we can't have a control group. We can't say, you don't get food, we'll see how your treatment outcomes come. So what we do rely on is the other data, which is 1 in 5 cancer deaths are a direct consequence of malnutrition. So that's around 125,000 people every single year that are losing their life because their body is not storing the food. It's a very complex problem. I'm not a doctor, but our dietitians have shared that research with us, and where they saw culinary care and where they see culinary care really filling that void, and what we have the data on to support that is that it all starts somewhere. And so it starts with, depression, anxiety, loss of appetite is a really common treatment side effect, financial strain. So you have all these variables that make food and aversions to food.
Big
Basically,
stressor.
you just skipping meals is like a
Yeah.
very common instance. And so for us, we've had patients, 75% of our patients who have had loss of appetite as a symptom, we've helped them overcome it, which is really
Wow.
powerful. And so knowing that we can sort of move the needle on those on that micro level is really powerful to know that. And that's behavior change. Like, behavior change is really, really tough. So to get someone over that hump and to reinstill and reinvigorate this joy of food and this being able to eat just on a regular basis, it has this ripple effect to get these meals that are really delicious and chef made and awesome. And then on the other side of that, we track as much as we can data on care. And so, on that, it's 95% of our patients will report that they feel an increased sense of community. For those other 5%, it just might been like they already have a great community. And so we weren't increasing, but we certainly aren't decreasing it. Um, and so with that, to know 25 having a sense of community can increase your outcomes by as much as 25%. And so when we have those two statistics, like those, that is culinary and that is care. And so we're looking at, really just both of those statistics together is like a 20 to 25% improvement of survival just by having good meals and just by having a sense of community. So that's really the data that we try to use and keep track of, because we don't want to do any studies that are like, you don't eat, you eat, and then we'll see.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be, that'd be frowned upon, by the
Yeah, I think
scientific
so.
community,
I know
I think.
sleep has the
Yeah,
same issue. I heard a doctor speak on sleep issues, and he was like, "The hardest part is that we can't have a control group for the power of sleep and treatment. Like, we can't tell somebody not to sleep
yeah.
and then,
You have to
track
find
their
people that are
outcomes."
already not sleeping and then
Yeah.
ask that subset to sleep more. Yeah,
So it's
it's
hard to do, but yeah.
very complex. Well, that's amazing. It's so simple, right? The idea of it and, taking a meal to someone, being warm, talking with them. It's a really in terms of the complexity of it at scale, I'm sure that's where it's really coming in terms of the logistics, but the amount of positive impact that you're having on these people's life through simple conversations and meals cooked by their community, is amazing. Uh, as you've kind of scaled up, you mentioned you're doing 85 meals a day right now in the greater Chicago area. How has managing that logistics been? Like, what are you using to kind of organize that? And how are you yourself kind of managing yourself in terms of working on the logistics side and the mission side?
Yeah. I mean, I think we did spend, I don't even think, we spent a lot of time working through the logistics of the program, and I was boots on the ground. I don't deliver meals really anymore because we needed people to be able to do that in order to grow as an organization. Like, it can't all rely on me. So we made that strategic choice to say, okay, we Courtney can't be the backup person for everything. And so that's been really exciting as both the founder and just from a logistics standpoint, is that I don't need to do that anymore. I can do it if I want to, and I can do it if I feel like doing it that day, but it is not all reliant on me, which means we are actually like a very scalable organization. And then when we grew in Dallas, it was the same model. Like, even though Courtney is physically in Dallas, I am not our delivery team. I'm not our programs team. I still spend a lot of time building that out, but I really, really spent the first, 5, 10 years building out our programs to be able to accomplish that. So by our 10th anniversary in 2023, I said, you know what? It's our 10th anniversary. We've been growing at like an average of 20 to 40% year over year. This year is, I'm going to say, 10,000 meals, our 10th anniversary. It sounds awesome. I think we can do it. It was an 80% increase from 2022, and we hit it. And so then it was okay, great. We hit 10, we scaled by 80% that year. Now, how do we maintain that? Can we keep it going? Is the need going to drop or anything? And it's still, now it's just, we're growing at 20 to 40% year over year, but from that 80% growth in 2023. So it's been really exciting to see that from a logistics standpoint. I mean, we really just have an amazing team, and their first priority is always to the patient. And that's kind of how I sort of distribute their challenges and things is like, if the patient feels it, we're doing something wrong. If you feel it, I will help you solve the challenge. So, like, everything patient facing should be yes, we're here for you. We'll take on that challenge to make sure you don't feel any disconnect and that you feel personally supported along the way. And then my job is to say if our programs team is having trouble scaling by
Mm,
doing that and taking that pressure off the patient, then it's my job to step in and really help formulate, okay, what does this solution look like? And so ramping up to where we're at today, like even just today, I'm stepping in once I start to see problems. So if I see problems, like my thing is if I see it 3 times, whether it's just 3 patients emailing in saying something happened, if I see the same problem 3 times, I typically step in and say, okay, I need to understand what's going on here. This is just a growing problem. Like no one's in trouble. Everyone's doing awesome. You guys are delivering 80 meals a day. Like that's going to come with challenges. How do we work through them, and how do we use technology to help us alleviate these stressors? And that's also like, so for me, technology is just awesome. We moved into Salesforce last year, so like our whole system, we developed our own ordering app. So patients actually use an app that we developed on our own to order their meals. That connects with Salesforce. It just makes everything like very streamlined. Salesforce is awesome just because they give us free licenses. And so for us, it was just like the way that our programs work, it was a no-brainer. It's certainly not for every nonprofit because I happen to have a background in knowing how Salesforce works. And so that benefits us in that way is just having like a really tech savvy person, I think is just important because it can solve a lot. And so I feel like we are a very tech forward organization, and I really believe in the power of it, like seeing AI. Everyone always asks me like, "Oh, are you gonna have drones deliver meals at some point?" Like maybe, like if that makes sense. And if it can help us do more, and if it can help us be more personal, that's where we really start making those investments. Is okay, if you're doing a lot of just work managing this year, our team is managing 1,200 plus patients, and to provide personal, like, one-on-one support and make it feel like you are the only one in this program at scale is really just where we try to, make efficiencies and really sort of build in the infrastructure that we need to be able to do that. So, yeah, I mean, logistics is the back end of it. You have to use technology. If you're not, it's, which we were not in the very early days. It was like you filled out paper forms, and then I was like, "Wait, Google Forms exists. What are we doing?" And so then you start moving, year over
piece by
year,
piece. Yeah.
piece by piece, it all gets a little bit easier.
So much to dive into with that question. I want to start with kind of that leadership piece. It really sounds like it comes top down from your organization in terms of the culture of the nonprofit that you're running. How has it been onboarding new people, training them, making sure that they're ingrained within that culture of patient first? It sounds like you do a really great job of being very clear to them, like, hey, if problems arise from our core mission of putting patients first, that's where I am able to step in and I want to help you out with that. Have has it been the entire time that you've been running the organization that that culture has been a part of it, or has it been something that you've kind of learned over this 10 plus years of running the organization?
Yeah, I think that we're a small team, and so for me, it's obviously, like, I'm setting the tone, but more than top down, I would say it's just I try to make it an even playing field. Like, I am well aware that our programs team like, we don't exist without their support. Like, they are running our programs, so they're our patient-facing team, and that's critically important, and so I listen to them, like, they at this point, they kind of tell me what they need, and then my job is really just to fix it for them and make their life easier, from just an
How
overall.
did it how did you get to that point where they feel so comfortable, telling you, like, "Hey, these are the kinda needs that we have." Was it been that way from the
Yeah.
start, so it's kind of naturally developed over time, or is that a skill that you had to learn, kind of, that managing side of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was 23 when I started Culinary Care.
Mm,
I think I come from a place of, like, I don't know everything. I don't know every answer. I still don't. Like, I've been doing this for 12 years, and, like, I have thoughts and I have experience, and with experience comes confidence and knowledge and just things that you need to be in it, and you need to have the experience, and you need to have something under your belt to be able to confidently say, "Nope, this is how we're gonna do it." But I think overall with our programs team, I want everybody to know that they're valued and that they play an important role in this mission. Like, we are a charity. We're not, we really try to make everything very fair, from wages and like making sure that you can live, a great life, knowing that we're also, a nonprofit. And I feel like those are just things that are important to us, is making sure that, no one gets burned out is really important. And I feel like I really just try to lean into things that I experience like, we're all humans. So it's like, I'm not immune to feeling the same way our programs team feels on a day-to-day basis. Like, I'm not immune to having life thrown at you from a lot of different directions, and having personal issues that you need to come to work with on some days. And so it's really just, I feel like I just really try to stay grounded in the fact that we're all human. And if there are things that arise, at this point, I really just want my team to come, and they're very good at ad hocing. So there has been like a lot of conversations where basically, it's when I get in the weeds with our program, like, maybe I'm helping out for the day, and then I'm just like, "Wait a minute, this is how you guys have been doing this? Like, it's incredible that you have ad hoced your way through the system, but there is a way easier way to do
mm,
this." And then once they consistently see me doing that, they kind of learn to say, "Okay, she really is just trying to, like, alleviate this. I'm not gonna be in trouble, like, we're not complaining that,
mm,
X, Y, and Z is broken. It's we have to fix this to make your life easier and to give you time to do what you love doing most, which is connecting with our patients." I think from a
right,
hiring standpoint, culturally, like, in the hiring process, we do make sure that everyone, like, personality, I feel like there's trainable skills, and then there's really skills, like soft skills, that are not as trainable. And so we're really, really hiring based on, like, your personality, your hospitality, first sort of mindset,
mm.
how you navigate things, how patient you are as a person. Because that's huge. Like, we're going into
Yeah,
hospitals, you're, like, you're dealing with a group of families, of people that are in the hardest moment of their life, and they might be having the worst day of their life. Like, at any given moment when we're delivering a meal, someone could have just found out that they might not live for another month. Like, that is a very, very hard day for them. They might not be thrilled or jumping or, smiling. It might be they're upset. And we have to be really patient and be able to navigate that, and to understand that at the core, like, we are making a difference, even if we don't physically see it in every single meal delivery. And I think that's just a reality that I wish everybody understood, is just, you don't know the kind of difference that you're making just by smiling, just by sending that text message. Just yesterday, we were on the phone with one of our patients, and she was saying that, her friends would send knock knock jokes and things like that. And in my mind, I'm like, how many times did that friend type it, delete it, not send it, debate sending it, and then sent it? And it really made the moment and made her day brighter and better, even if she didn't respond. Because sometimes you see it and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. And so you just have to show up in a way where you might not get the instant gratification from it, but you just have to know and have that be sort of one of your values. So that's what we really look for when we're hiring, is just is one of your values and one of the things that you identify with as a human to be human and kind and, you know, and respectful. And I think that that's kind of what we focus on the most.
I want to pick out some things to highlight for our audience, specifically around kind of the hiring process. It really sounds like for you, your mentality within your organization is what's hire mission aligned people that have the soft skills that allow them to achieve your core mission, which is the patient first mentality. From there, you can teach someone how to deliver a meal and all the logistical side. So that I think is something that nonprofit leaders within the space can definitely take that lesson and apply it within their organization. Before that as well, you mentioned the fact that you go boots on the ground with your team. And that's really in the beginning stages where a lot of lessons were learned for yourself. I think that is a really great lesson to learn for nonprofit executives that are maybe more pie in the sky, kind of high level work, and taking you especially the founder type. You've done it for 12 years. In the beginning stages, you learned those lessons the hard way when you were delivering the meals yourself. And you tried your best, I'm sure, at those stages to make it more efficient. So you can show them and demonstrate, like, hey, I was in your shoes. I have done this, and here's how you can maybe make it a little bit easier. And I think that's maybe what really helped you build that culture and that mentality within your team to kind of uh, pass problems up the chain. So
Yeah.
it sounds amazing. I just wanted to like pull those out and make sure that like the nonprofit audience was able to kind of capture those. It's absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
I think you definitely have to get in the weeds, whether you're founder, jumping in as an executive, like that is those are your stakeholders. Like as a nonprofit, the people we serve are our stakeholders. And that's a really amazing opportunity. So for me, when I see patients writing in, maybe it's just that they didn't get silverware that day and, the hospital has it, but, there's little things that you don't even think about when you're like a meal delivery service, like just so many little things that we've learned along the way. That doesn't happen now, but in the very, very early days, it was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even think through that," and then we're going back and making sure that they have all the tools that they need, so we've really built a lot, but getting in the weeds with your programs team and not in a way where it's I'm here to, scold people or I'm here to like see what you guys are doing wrong. It's really just I need to be able to help you do your best work. And there's always little things that don't need to be and then it's like for me it's really just how do we fill this gap with tech like do you have to be manually copying and pasting every single person's name into three different delivery apps to make sure that we do this like that is tedious it's annoying it's like I could feel the programs team years ago before we developed our app like you could feel the pain that
Mhm.
and you they know that it's not a value add. They're like, "I have to do this work, but it doesn't even impact the patient." It's like just spending hours copying and pasting
Tracking.
so they can get their
Yeah.
meal. So there's just little things that you really have to get in the weeds to really feel their pain point because they don't always know their pain points. Like, they're on the ground doing the work, and that is something where it's like, I come in on one delivery 2 months ago and I'm invited into this group text that's wonderful. I'm so glad that they've built this group text with all of our drivers so they can communicate with each other. And I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm so overwhelmed. And I'm like talking to the driver, and they're like, yeah, it was overwhelming at first, but then, we all get used to it. And I'm just like, this is, wait a minute, this is nuts. Like, I'm so glad that you guys have been figuring this out and that you've somehow managed with this system. But this seems incredibly overwhelming to me, and we were solving it tomorrow. Like, this is now the new way we're doing this. Like, there is no delay, problem solved. And the more they see that, I think the more they're like, whoa, she really is here to help make sure like this is just making sure that like my experience with the organization is as good as it can be because what they want is to be their best for your stakeholders. Like that's what your programs team wants is
And that's
they
what you're
sign
hiring
up.
for as well.
Yes,
That
and so
so
if there's
that
little
match there.
things yeah, and sometimes there isn't always a match, like, it's we've we've ebbed and flowed through people, and it's really it just is finding that match and having for me, it's just the one value is just if it's one less worry for our patients, like, that's it. Like, that's the biggest core internal, external motto is, like, it has to be one less thing for our patients to worry about from a donor side. That's also and, like, partnership side, like, that's also a core value is donating should be easy, the experience should be easy. If we need someone to help sell gala tickets, like, that should be easy for them. Do not send 6 different links with 5 different templates. They just need you to write the thing that they need to send this minute. It's and putting yourself in those shoes, like, do I click on a lot of links that I get sent via email? No. Like, I'm my own worst enemy because 'cause I'm in it as both a human side, it's just like if once you receive it, you have to internalize it and say, "Is this how we've been doing it for, like, our donors and our community?" And then your mind starts going of like, "Yeah, I didn't love being on the receiving end of that, and if we're doing that to our community, we should change it, like, right now."
Let's dive a little more into that, for funding, and, kind of fundraising within your organization. How has that been? What are some, like, kind of core lessons that you've learned over your 10 years of running this organization and scaling it as well?
Yeah. Well, it's been I guess this year is particular it's on pace to be a very exciting year because we will potentially be hitting our first seven-figure, so $1,000,000 a year fundraising goal,
Wow.
which would be really awesome, and from a fundraising standpoint, we have a team of 2, so it's particularly exciting, to
Well,
see
how big
that
is your
we
total
could do
team as
that.
well? Real quick,
I
I
think
do
there's
wanna jump
10
in.
of us,
Okay.
10 to 12 maybe. We're hiring new folks right now. Most of them are our programs team. And
Yes.
then, fundraising and marketing, kind of all of the hats is me and my colleagues. So, yeah, we're a pretty small but mighty team.
So 2 on the
What
admin side, 8 on the operation.
yeah, basically. So,
Okay.
and probably yeah, probably a few more coming in soon. But yeah,
Amazing.
I mean, we've had from a fundraising standpoint, I think you have to just lean into what you're passionate about and what your community is passionate about and what aligns and what makes sense. So our first ever like foray into fundraising is what we call our corporate cook-off. It is, a team building culinary challenge. It's also like a client engagement. It really is like whatever the company wants to make of it. But that was the first thing we ever started doing from a fundraising standpoint a decade ago, which is exciting. So we launched a corporate cook-off fundraiser. We invited companies really just instead of having a gala. We were like, everybody has a gala. How are we? No one knows we exist. Like, no one knows who we are. How are we going to get someone to choose our gala over the other 60 billion gala invites that they're getting? And also, is a gala really mission focused for us? Like, food is at
Mhm.
the core and like the joy food brings and the community feel of food. And so, how do we make sure that those are baked into? We have a gala now, but that really only became a gala maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Gotcha.
Um,
That's
Really
crazy.
post COVID, once everyone started
Yeah.
jumping back into events excitedly, we were like, "Okay,
Let's
ours
take
has
advantage.
continued to grow. We'll break these 2 events out into 2 different things." So, but that's really where we started was just, where are my skill sets? And my skill set was in PR and marketing. And so I felt like I was very comfortable frankly getting on the phone. I was very comfortable cold emailing. And I feel like you really kind of have to lean into what you're good at, what you're comfortable with, and what is mission aligned. Like a golf tournament sounds great. Tons of organizations do it. I'm not a golfer. I don't
Mhm.
really know a ton of golfers. Like, how in the world am I going to launch a golf tournament just boots on the ground? So that was really where we honed in on and started. And then it really, I feel like for us, just leaning into the people that we have and trying to make sure that along the way, and this isn't something that I've been working on really more diligently over the last few years. And I wish I had been more diligent about it in the very early years. I feel like there's always this you know, sort of competition in fundraising internally of like, do I need new donors or do I need to get my people to give more. And how do you balance those 2? And I feel like I was very much in the mindset of like, well, if this person doesn't give again, and based on the giving statistics that we've got to work with as a nonprofit, there's like maybe a 80 to 90% chance they are not going to give again. And so my focus for the first few years was really just like, how do I get more and more people involved? So we were really focused more on the acquisition side. And then when COVID hit, honestly, that was my impetus to say, like, okay, wow, we're a 7-year-old organization. Thankfully, we have people that have come through the organization. We've been like intentional about nurturing those relationships, but not as intentional as I wish I had been. But then we just leaned in and we were just like, our only option right now is to lean into the community we've got and focus on just donor engagement and engaging people, reigniting their passion for culinary care and bringing ourselves into their everyday lives and conversations that they were having. And because, yeah, I mean, acquisition we felt like was just going to be basically impossible during 2020. We were just like,
Mhm.
who's
And as you
like, we don't
navigated
have
that,
that.
what were the main lessons you learned in terms of switching the mentality of acquisition to kind of the nurturing, uh, during COVID? What were the kind of some of the lessons you've learned from that?
I think my biggest core lesson there is just hospitality. It's not just like a culinary care, like, yes, we're a food organization, and so that makes a lot of sense for us to say. But for me, I feel like every organization needs to just root themselves in hospitality. And like if you can just start with that as your framework for all fundraising and take, I try to talk to like hotel groups that are doing really, really amazing, their hospitality. I try to talk to more restaurant groups that are doing really incredible, like borrowing just almost these sort of for-profit models of what does hospitality truly look like, who's doing it really, really well, and then bringing that into our donor community is just I'm certainly not perfect at it, and I tried it, but that is where I try to root myself into is just what does this look like just from a hospitality standpoint, not with the core focus of a transactional fundraising. How can we inspire people? How can we engage them? How can we connect them to our mission? I feel like we've really tried to be diligent about that balance of just inspiring and engaging and then having the fundraising sort of come through that. Instead of leaning into it with a more transactional focus. So, yeah, I mean, the hospitality, it could be it's really the same things, honestly, that we do for our patients. And it's like, we write cards, we write birthday cards, we
A
write get
smile.
well cards, like, or condolence cards, not get well cards. We do not send those because those are not well received by, which we've also had to educate on is like we have our corporate partners or just donors that are out in the community writing cards for us. And that's one of the things that we try to bring full circle to from our patients and into the community is like what is well received and what's not, and what should you do and what shouldn't you do. Um, and so those types of things, like the one less worry and just having core values that are really applicable to both your program side and your donor side. And I feel like that's where we've done our best to root ourselves in. Um, Granted, we're small and certainly not experts at it, and are always just working to see what we can do new and different. And if there's things in our life that make us happy, how does that extend into our patients, and how does that extend into our donors?
I do wanna follow up a little bit, by hospitality, kind of, explain a little bit maybe what you mean by that terminology and how it can maybe apply to a more general nonprofit that's maybe not in as much of a service, orientated as you are. But how can they still take those principles and methodologies and put them into their fundraising efforts, and their donors?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all love going out to eat. We'll use that as the example. We like going out to restaurants because it is nice to feel taken care of.
Mhm.
It's nice to not have things to worry about. It's nice to feel seen and to have something special. And restaurants, really good ones, are very good at, if it's your birthday, maybe you didn't know that your friend put that on the reservation and now you got this beautiful cake with a candle. It's like thinking about those elements, like they're very good at making you feel at home. And
Mhm.
so how do you turn that into something that's donor facing as well? So for us, it's just, are there birthday cards that we can send? Are there little moments where we can come in and help our donors just feel more invited into the community. I would say my biggest piece of advice is just thinking about what makes you happy, thinking about what makes your recipients, like what makes your program recipients happy, and how do you showcase that to your donors? How do you showcase that to the people that are supporting your organization? And how do you, it really is just how do you show people how you show up? But even though they're not fighting cancer necessarily, our donors aren't always, sometimes it does happen that they're actually end up being on the receiving end of our programs. But how do we make sure to navigate those two sides of really just bringing in what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel seen? A great example of it is I sent a baby gift to a friend that was, she had just had a newborn, and we sent this gift and I never heard back, which is fine. Like, I'm sure she just got distracted. She had a newborn. Like, I'm not upset by it in any way, but it dawned on me in that moment, like, oh, that's probably how our donors might feel if we don't acknowledge their gift in a meaningful way. Like, even if she had just texted, like, "Hey, got your gift. So sorry I haven't been able to like properly answer, but it's been received." And so taking those moments of your life, like points of stress or happiness, or just taking your everyday life and turning that into, how does someone in our community, how could this be relational? How
Yeah.
could this relate to what they're going through? It happens on the patient side and it happens on the donor side, where it's just there's moments in all of our lives where we feel extra seen or extra annoyed. And then I take those and say, okay, does this apply to our donors? Does this apply to our patients? And how can we do something to try to alleviate that? And sometimes there's not always a simple solution, but sometimes there is. So,
Well, that is amazing. Kinda as we are coming towards the end of the show, if there's anything that you would, have our listeners, both in a nonprofit community and maybe those that are not, do to get involved in your organization or within their local communities, what would be your ask?
yeah, I mean, I think if you're in the nonprofit space, or you're really like if you're looking to get into the nonprofit space, I think my biggest thing is just be willing to show up and be reliable, honestly. Because again, it is like we need to be able to sustain our missions, and we need to be able to sustain our work. And I feel like that word sustainability, is just super trendy and a little cliche at this point because everybody uses it. But to me, it's just when we work with restaurants, when we first started, this is the best example that I have. When we first started working with restaurants, there was a world where we could have asked for just, you know, 8 meals. Can you just give us 8 meals? But we knew that we weren't going to be able to plan and grow
Mm,
with these willy-nilly meals coming in from every direction. So all of our restaurant partners have to make an annual commitment. We need to be able to plan for the whole year how many meals we've got to distribute from like a donation side. Now it's donated and paid for at discounted rates because we're just too large for a donation alone capacity. But I think that's really, I would love for just the general public to know, like, that is what nonprofits truly need, is to be able to count on you. And from a nonprofit standpoint, like, you need to be able to count on people and to hold people accountable. And, for us, it's looked monthly donors has been like a huge, huge push. I'm sure not only for us, but for a big portion of the nonprofit sector. And it's for those types of reasons. Netflix
planning.
has a subscription model, and like if people weren't
Yeah.
subscribing, I bet they would not be as great with their content development if they were just like hoping people paid for another month but like weren't committed to it. And so it really does, like, we see it in so much of the things that we consume and the things that we buy, and we're seeing it so often. Those things don't just are not exclusive to the like the for-profit sector. Like, nonprofits need that. And I think that that's something that I advocate for. I've definitely gotten pushback on it over the years of like, well, why don't you just let that volunteer come in? And it's like, do you know the amount of work that it takes for my team to train somebody to go into hospitals, to deliver meals, to hope that you show up one other time or 6 other times. Like, we need to know that we can truly, truly count on you. We really just can't have drive-by supporters. We really just need people that are gonna be in it with us, working alongside us, and excited as we are about changing people's lives in such a profound way.
Well, thank you so much, Courtney, for coming on and for showing the amazing work you're doing out there in Chicago and Dallas, delivering meals to people in need that are going through some of the toughest moments of their life, and for your amazing advice for the nonprofit listeners within our audience. And thank you for coming on. Courtney
Thank you
Johnson,
so much for
everybody.
having me. Appreciate it.